half the bridge crew immediately activated their personal shields. Now that, Maya said with obvious pride, is 40,000 years of selective breeding and evolution working together. Buster would literally die before letting anything hurt me. Wouldn't you, boy? The predator's tail wagged once, but his eyes never left the camera. The message was crystal clear: I'm friendly until you threaten my human. Then you become food. This is madness, muttered Engineer Splut, his blob-like form quivering with disbelief. Humans have somehow convinced apex predators to serve as personal bodyguards. Not just Buster, Maya said cheerfully. Back on Earth, we've got hundreds of different dog breeds. Some are tiny lapdogs, others are massive working animals. We've got dogs that hunt, dogs that herd livestock, dogs that detect explosives, dogs that help blind people navigate, and dogs that can smell diseases before our medical equipment can detect them. She scratched behind Buster's ear, and the mighty predator immediately returned to his friendly demeanor. The really funny part is, you guys aren't even seeing his full potential. Buster's actually holding back because we're in a controlled environment. Holding back? Vex-Nine's voice climbed several octaves higher. Oh yeah. Out in the wild, a dog like Buster could track a scent trail that's 3 days old across 20 kilometers of rough terrain. His hearing is so sensitive he can detect sounds you couldn't hear with your best equipment. And his bite. Maya paused for dramatic effect, clearly enjoying the terrified expressions on alien faces. Well, let's just say there's a reason wolves were once the apex predators on most continents. Dr. Tentacles was frantically taking notes. How is this possible? How did humans manage to form symbiotic relationships with creatures that should theoretically view you as prey? Simple, Maya replied, pulling a metal disc from her pocket. We're pack animals too. Humans and dogs, we understand loyalty, cooperation, and mutual benefit. Plus, we give really good belly rubs. She threw the disc, which sailed down the corridor in a perfect arc. Buster launched himself after it with breathtaking speed and grace, caught it mid-air, and returned within seconds. The disc was traveling at 42 kilometers per hour, reported scanner operator Beep in a stunned voice. The predator calculated trajectory, wind resistance, and intercept course instantaneously. And that's just playing fetch, Maya grinned. You should see what military working dogs can do. Some of them have been trained to parachute out of aircraft, rappel from helicopters, and work alongside human soldiers in combat zones. The bridge fell silent except for the sound of several crew members quietly updating their wills. Dr. Cross, Vex-Nine said carefully, are you telling us that humans routinely bring these creatures into battle? Well, not routinely, but when the situation calls for it, absolutely. A good military working dog is worth about 20 regular soldiers. They can detect ambushes, find hidden enemies, locate explosives, and... Maya's expression turned slightly predatory again. They're absolutely relentless when protecting their handlers. She knelt down next to Buster and hugged him again. But mostly, they're just family. Aren't you, buddy? You're just a big sweetheart who happens to be descended from apex predators. Buster's tail wagged so hard his entire back end wiggled with joy. This explains so much about human behavior, Dr. Tentacles murmured, his tentacles scribbling furiously. If humans can form emotional bonds with apex predators, it explains their unusual fearlessness, their pack loyalty, and their tendency to adopt dangerous creatures as companions. Speaking of which, Maya said with a mischievous glint in her eye, I should probably mention that Buster isn't my only pet. I've also got Mr. Whiskers back in my quarters. Please tell me Mr. Whiskers is something small and harmless, pleaded Navigator Fizz. Maya's grin widened. Well, he's definitely smaller than Buster. He's a cat. Specifically, he's a Maine Coon, which means he's about the size of a small predator, has retractable claws that can shred furniture, and possesses the attitude of a creature that believes the entire universe exists solely for his personal entertainment. She stood up and brushed dust off her uniform. The really fun part is that Mr. Whiskers thinks he's in charge of Buster. And honestly? Buster agrees with him. There's nothing quite like watching a 90-pound German Shepherd defer to a 20-pound cat. The implications of this statement rippled through the bridge crew like a shockwave. If humans kept multiple predator species as companions, and those predators had established their own hierarchy, Commander, Communications Officer Blip whispered urgently, I'm receiving reports from other human quarters. They all seem to have predator companions. How many different species are we talking about? Vex-Nine asked weakly. Well, Maya said thoughtfully, if you count just the mammals, probably a few hundred domesticated species. But if you include birds, reptiles, fish, and arthropods. She paused to consider. Humans have probably domesticated or kept as pets representatives from almost every major animal group on Earth. She gave Buster one final pat. The funny thing is, most of them think they're the ones in charge. But between you and me, Maya winked at the camera, we're all just staff to our animal companions. And honestly? We wouldn't have it any other way. As the feed cut out, leaving the bridge in stunned silence, one thought echoed through every alien mind present. If humans could turn apex predators into loyal companions, what exactly were humans themselves? The answer to that question, they realized with growing unease, might be more terrifying than any predator they had ever encountered. Commander Vex-Nine stared at the datapad with 4 of his compound eyes while the other 2 kept watch for potential threats. The readings made absolutely no sense whatsoever. According to every sensor on the station, there was a Class 7 apex predator loose in Section C, Class 7. The kind of beast that could tear through reinforced titanium like wet paper and devour a fully grown Krellian in 3 bites. "Sir," whispered Communications Officer Blip, his tentacles trembling like leaves in a hurricane, "the human in Section C isn't responding to our evacuation warnings." "What do you mean not responding?" Vex-Nine's mandibles clicked with irritation. "Did the translation matrix malfunction again?" "No, sir." The human, well, she acknowledged the warning. Then she said, and I quote, "Thanks for the heads up, but I'm good." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle humming of life support systems and Blip's nervous tentacle tapping. 3 dozen alien crew members exchanged bewildered glances. In the entire recorded history of the Galactic Union, no sentient being had ever responded to a Class 7 predator alert with casual dismissal. "Perhaps," suggested Science Officer Gloop, his gelatinous form quivering with uncertainty, "the human doesn't understand the severity of the situation? These creatures are legendary killers. Their bite force can crush starship hull plating." Vex-Nine activated the visual feed to Section C, expecting to see a terrified human cowering behind makeshift barricades. Instead, the screen showed Dr. Maya Cross, the human xenobiologist, sitting cross-legged on the floor. She appeared to be talking to something just outside camera range. "Computer, enhance audio pickup for Section C," Vex-Nine commanded. "Absolutely adorable." "Yes, you are." "Who's a good boy?" "Who's the goodest boy in the whole galaxy?" The bridge crew exchanged confused looks. Several crew members began frantically checking their universal translators, convinced something had gone wrong with the language processing. Dr. Cross, Vex-Nine, spoke into the communications array, his voice carrying the weight of command and barely contained panic. "You need to evacuate immediately. There is a Class 7 apex predator in your vicinity. This is not a drill." The human looked up at the nearest camera and waved cheerfully. "Oh, hi Commander. Yeah, I got your message. But you guys are totally wrong about the classification." "Wrong?" Vex-Nine's voice cracked slightly. "Dr. Cross, our sensors don't make mistakes about predator classifications." "Well, they do when they're trying to categorize Earth animals using Galactic Union standards," Maya replied with a laugh that somehow managed to sound both amused and slightly condescending. "Your sensors are probably reading the bite pressure, muscle density, and predatory instincts. But they're missing some pretty important context." She stood up and stepped aside, revealing what had caused the sensor alerts. The bridge crew collectively gasped, several smaller species immediately fainted, and Gloop's gelatinous form temporarily lost cohesion from shock. It was massive. Easily 2 meters long, covered in coarse fur that ranged from golden brown to deep black. Its jaw could easily fit a Krellian's head, and those teeth, those magnificent, terrifying teeth gleamed like polished ivory daggers. The creature's eyes held an ancient intelligence, the kind that spoke of millions of years of successful hunting and survival, but the most shocking part wasn't the predator itself. It was the colorful braided rope around its neck. "Meet Buster," Mia announced proudly, scratching behind the creature's ear. The beast's tail began wagging with enough force to knock over small furniture. "He's a German Shepherd." "Well, technically he's a German Shepherd mix, but the mix part is probably wolf, which honestly just makes him even more awesome." You named it?" squeaked Navigator Fizz, his scales turning a pale shade of terror white. "And what is that restraining device around its neck?" "Oh, this?" Maya held up the rope. "It's called a leash. Though honestly, Buster's pretty well trained. He doesn't really need it, but station regulations and all that." "The predator." Buster looked directly at the camera and panted happily, its tongue lolling out in what could only be described as a friendly expression. This did nothing to calm the bridge crew, as they interpreted the display of teeth and dripping saliva as preparation for feeding. "Dr. Cross," Vex-Nine said slowly, trying to process what he was witnessing, "that creature could kill you in seconds. Why are you treating it like a companion?" "Because he is a companion. Humans have been keeping dogs as pets for over 15,000 years. They're loyal, intelligent, protective, and honestly, they give the best hugs." As if to prove her point, Maya wrapped her arms around Buster's massive neck. The bridge crew watched in horror as the predator's jaws opened wide, and then Buster licked her face with obvious affection. Impossible, whispered Dr. Tentacles, the station's chief medical officer. Predators don't form emotional bonds with prey species. It goes against every law of nature. Well, that's where you're wrong, Maya said cheerfully. See, Buster here isn't just any predator. He's a domesticated predator. His ancestors chose to work with humans instead of hunting them. In exchange for food, shelter, and belly rubs, dogs became humanity's best friends and most loyal protectors. She pulled out a small spherical object and showed it to the camera. Want to see something really mind-blowing? Before anyone could object, Maya threw the ball down the corridor. The massive predator immediately took off after it, moving with fluid grace and terrifying speed. Within seconds, he returned, the ball clenched gently in his powerful jaws, and dropped it at Maya's feet. Good boy, Buster. Such a good boy. The bridge had gone completely silent. Even the normally chattering environmental systems seemed to have quieted in shock. Finally, Vex-Nine found his voice. Dr. Cross, you've trained an apex predator to retrieve objects for entertainment? Oh, this is just the beginning, Maya grinned, and there was something slightly predatory in her own smile that made the entire bridge crew unconsciously step back from their screens. Wait until you see what else he can do. What else he can do? Vex-Nine repeated Maya's words like they were a death sentence. His 4 primary eyes focused on the screen while his auxiliary eyes scanned for escape routes. Dr. Cross, please tell me you haven't taught a Class 7 predator additional hunting techniques. Maya's laugh echoed through the bridge speakers, and somehow it managed to sound both innocent and absolutely terrifying. Oh, Commander. You're thinking about this all wrong. Buster, show them your tricks. What happened next would be discussed in Galactic Union Academy classes for decades to come. The massive predator sat on command, then laid down, then rolled over to expose his vulnerable belly. He played dead, balanced a treat on his nose, and even walked backwards in a perfect circle. By the 7 moons of Zorathia, whispered Security Chief Quill, his feathers standing completely on end. She's turned a killing machine into a performing creature. Wait. You haven't seen the best part yet. Maya clapped her hands together. Buster, protect. The German shepherd's entire demeanor changed instantly. His playful expression vanished, replaced by laser-focused alertness. His ears perked forward, his muscles tensed, and a low growl rumbled from deep within his chest. He positioned himself between Maya and the camera, every line of his body screaming danger to potential threats.